The silent treatment. Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the Terran space station Resilience, watching the massive refugee fleet approach. Hundreds of civilian ships, their hulls scared and systems barely functioning, limped toward Earth's orbital sanctuary. The remnants of New Haven colony, 30,000 souls who had survived the crystalline swarm's attack. They're still not responding, she asked, though she already knew the answer. Lieutenant Rodriguez shook his head, his neural interface lights pulsing a soft red. The Galactic Defense Coalition maintains their position, Admiral. They say the crystalline swarm is beyond their jurisdiction, since New Haven was an unauthorized expansion of human territory. Sarah's reflection in the reinforced plasteel window showed no emotion, but her hands, clasped behind her back, tightened until her knuckles went white. 15 years of humanity playing by their rules. 15 years of accepting their restrictions, their regulations, their patronizing guidance about proper technological development timelines. What about the ARC, sir? They've always been somewhat sympathetic to our position. They're bound by the Coalition's vote, ma'am. Official response was deeply regrettable, but procedurally correct. A refugee ship passed close to the observation window. Sarah could see the makeshift patches on its hull, the jury-rigged life support systems keeping its passengers alive. New Haven's citizens had held out for 3 weeks against the swarm, using mining equipment and atmospheric processors as makeshift weapons. They'd saved themselves while the galaxy's most advanced civilizations debated procedural protocols. Admiral. Rodriguez's voice dropped lower. Director Watson is requesting your presence at Olympus Base. Priority Alpha. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Is she now? The real irony was that humanity could have stopped the swarm. The technology had existed for years, carefully hidden in classified facilities across Earth's solar system. But revealing those capabilities would have violated at least 37 Coalition regulations about appropriate technological advancement rates. Tell me, Lieutenant, what's the average response time for Coalition emergency assistance? Rodriguez blinked at the apparent non sequitur. 47 hours, standard. And how long have we been collecting data on their response patterns? Since our admission to the Coalition. So, 15 years. 4 months and 12 days. Sarah turned from the window, her dark eyes reflecting the emergency lights of another passing refugee ship. Send my acceptance to Director Watson. And Lieutenant. Begin implementation protocol Echo. Authorization, Chen, Alpha 747. Rodriguez's neural interface flashed green once, then dark. He understood. Every human in service understood. They'd been preparing for this moment since the first Coalition species had laughed at Earth's primitive FTL drives. In a secure chamber 2 kilometers beneath the Olympus Mons Research Center, Director Elena Watson watched holographic displays showing humanity's hidden strength. Quantum computational arrays that made Coalition tech look like children's toys. Energy manipulation systems that could reshape planetary crusts. And the crown jewel, the Nexus Network, a web of seemingly simple human technology scattered throughout Coalition space, each piece waiting for activation. The Coalition had never questioned why humans were so eager to sell their primitive technology, never wondered why a species they considered barely spacefaring was so good at maintaining their advanced systems. They'd forgotten the most important lesson about humanity. Sometimes patience wasn't about waiting. Sometimes it was about preparing. Sarah Chen arrived exactly 47 minutes later. It was time to show the galaxy why you should never mistake kindness for weakness or patience for acceptance. Begin the countdown, Sarah said, her voice carrying the weight of 15 years of calculated submission. Let's show them what humanity can really do. Across Coalition space, thousands of human technicians, engineers, and maintenance workers checked their watches. In precisely 47 hours, the galaxy would learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their hidden technology. It was their ability to wait for the perfect moment to use it. Director Watson initiated the sequence that would activate Protocol Echo. "You know they'll call this an act of aggression." "No," Sarah replied, watching the countdown begin. "They'll call it a wake-up call. The galaxy wanted humanity to learn patience. They never considered we might already be masters at it." In high orbit above Earth, the refugee ships of New Haven found safe harbor. Their arrival hadn't triggered humanity's response, but it had marked its beginning. The galaxy had declared human expansion unauthorized. In 47 hours, they would learn just how authorized humanity could be. The waiting game was over, and humanity was done playing by anyone else's rules. Project Looking Glass. Dr. Maya Patel's footsteps echoed through Olympus Base's quantum computing core as she made her final checks. The vast chamber, supposedly Earth's primitive attempt at matching coalition processing power, hummed with carefully restrained energy. Every surface reflected the soft blue glow of what the galaxy thought were basic computational matrices. How wrong they were. "System status," she asked, her voice carrying across the chamber to where her team worked at their stations. The Coalition's annual inspection had praised their quaint manual interfaces. None of their inspectors had realized the physical controls were merely theatrical. Every human operator was linked through neural interfaces far beyond anything the Coalition had developed. "All nodes responding," James Foster replied, his fingers dancing across holographic displays. "The Looking Glass protocol is ready for implementation across all sectors." Maya allowed herself a moment of pride. 15 years ago, when the Coalition had first restricted human AI development, they'd assumed Earth would follow the same technological path as other species. They hadn't understood that humanity had already chosen a different road. Director Watson is initiating final authorization. Anna Jha reported from her station. Time to revelation. 42 hours and counting. Maya approached the central platform, where a seemingly simple crystalline structure pulsed with internal light. The Coalition believed it was a basic data storage unit. In reality, it was the key to humanity's greatest deception and their greatest achievement. "Show me current Coalition traffic," Maya commanded. The air above the crystal erupted into a three-dimensional display of galaxy-wide communications. Every message, every transmission, every piece of data flowing through systems the Coalition thought they controlled. Humanity didn't need to hack their networks. They'd built them. "They're starting to notice the patterns," James noted, highlighting a cluster of emergency transmissions. "The Arxer just upgraded their security protocols." Again, Maya smiled. How long did it take Looking Glass to adapt? 0.3 seconds. They still think quantum encryption is unbreakable. The truth was beautiful in its simplicity. While the Coalition had spent centuries developing bigger shields and stronger walls, humanity had developed something far more powerful: understanding. Every piece of primitive human technology sold to Coalition worlds contained quantum observers, microscopic fragments of consciousness that learned, adapted, and waited. A priority alert flashed across Maya's neural interface. Admiral Chen was arriving. "Status report," the Admiral demanded as she entered, Director Watson at her side. Maya gestured at the galactic display. "Looking Glass has achieved 99% integration. Every Coalition system using human components is ready. They think they're seeing our full capabilities. They're actually seeing what we want them to see." "Show me New Haven," Watson ordered. The display shifted, focusing on the devastated colony world. The crystalline swarm still orbited, consuming the remaining infrastructure. Coalition ships watched from a safe distance, recording but not interfering. "They're studying the swarm's attack patterns," Chen observed, "planning how to defend their own worlds while leaving ours to die." Maya nodded toward a secondary display. "They're also studying our refugee ships, trying to understand how primitive human engineering survived a swarm attack. They're asking the wrong questions." "They always have," Watson agreed. "They wanted to know how we survived. They should have asked why we let them think we were merely surviving." The chamber's lights dimmed briefly as Maya initiated the next phase of Looking Glass. Across Coalition space, human-maintained systems imperceptibly shifted, preparing for the moment of revelation. Each shift was microscopic, undetectable to even the most advanced Coalition sensors. But together, they formed a web of influence that would change the galaxy forever. "The swarm is approaching the colony's outer defense grid," James reported. "Let them," Chen commanded. "It's time they learned what human technology really does when it stops playing nice." Maya's hands flew across her interface, sending the coded signal. On New Haven, the seemingly destroyed defense platforms suddenly pulsed with new energy. The crystalline swarm, drawn to the power signature, moved to consume them. They never had a chance. Quantum fields that had waited 15 years activated, not just around New Haven, but across human space. The swarm didn't disintegrate. It simply ceased to exist, its constituent atoms redistributed across space-time through technologies the Coalition had deemed impossible. "Message from the Coalition Security Council," Anna announced. "They're demanding to know what just happened." "Send no response," Chen ordered. "Let them wonder. Let them worry. In 39 hours, they won't have to ask." Maya turned to her team. "Initiate Looking Glass final protocols. It's time to show the galaxy what happens when you mistake patience for weakness." Across human space, hidden quantum cores awakened. In Coalition facilities, human-maintained systems began operating at their true capacity. And in the vast database of Coalition knowledge, carefully crafted blind spots suddenly became windows into humanity's real capabilities. The galaxy had wanted humanity to learn patience. Instead, humanity had taught patience how to bite. The Awakening Protocol. The Coalition Security Council's emergency session erupted into chaos when their environmental systems suddenly adjusted to perfect conditions for each species simultaneously, something their scientists had deemed biologically impossible. In the vast chamber, representatives from 1,000 worlds watched in growing horror as displays activated, showing the true nature of human technology. First Counselor Zixtal, their crystalline form shimmering with agitation, stared at the holographic projection of Admiral Chen. "How dare you breach Council security protocols?" "Breach?" Sarah Chen's image smiled. "Counselor, we built your security protocols. Just like we built your quantum communications network, your defense grids, your trade systems, your entire infrastructure." The Arxer representative, Marshal Kevoth, leaned forward, mandibles clicking. "Impossible. Our systems are based on technologies that predate human contact by centuries." "Are they?" Dr. Maya Patel's image appeared beside Chen's. "Or did we simply make you believe that? The quantum cords you use, did you ever wonder why they worked better when humans maintained them?" Across Coalition space, the Awakening Protocol continued its inexorable advance. On trading hub stations, human-designed navigation systems revealed their true capabilities, plotting courses through supposedly impossible spatial geometries. In medical facilities, diagnostic tools suddenly began operating at their actual capacity, identifying conditions that Coalition medicine had deemed untreatable. In the Council chamber, Director Watson's hologram materialized. 15 years ago, you gave us a choice. Accept restrictions or face isolation. We chose a third option. We chose to show you exactly what you expected to see. A young, struggling species learning its way among the stars, while hiding your true capabilities. Zixtal's crystalline surface crackled with anger. "This is a violation of every treaty. Every treaty that you imposed," Chen interrupted. "Every restriction you placed on our development. Tell me, Counselor, did it never seem strange that humans were so good at maintaining your technology? That we could integrate so seamlessly into your systems?" On New Haven, the remaining crystalline swarm entities were discovering the true purpose of human defense technology. What they had thought were simple energy barriers turned out to be quantum entanglement fields, capable of rewriting the very laws of physics within their boundaries. The swarm wasn't being destroyed. It was being transformed, its constituent matter and energy repurposed at the atomic level. Marshal Kivoth's scales had paled to an ashen gray. The maintenance contracts, the integration protocols, were designed to place human technology at every crucial junction of coalition infrastructure. Maya confirmed. What you saw as eager cooperation was systematic integration. Every human component, every piece of primitive technology, was a node in a galaxy-spanning network. In orbital platforms across coalition space, supposedly decorative human art installations awakened, revealing themselves as quantum computational arrays of staggering power. The coalition's most secure databases found themselves open, their encryption rendered meaningless by systems they had trusted for years. "This is an act of war," Zixtal declared. Watson's hologram shook her head. "No, counselor. This is an act of revelation. If we wanted war, we wouldn't be talking. Your ships would have already discovered that their engines, built with human assistance, could simply stop functioning. Your weapons, optimized with human efficiency protocols, would find themselves remarkably ineffective." "What do you want?" Kivoth asked, practical even in crisis. "The same thing we wanted 15 years ago," Chen replied. "Equal partnership, recognition of our sovereignty, an end to the patronizing restrictions on human development." Maya's image gestured, and every display in the council chamber filled with data. The true capabilities of human technology, the real extent of their advancement. "You thought you were protecting the galaxy from human aggression. The truth is, we were protecting you from your own assumptions. You have 32 hours, Watson stated. In that time, examine the data we've provided. Consider your positions carefully. When the time expires, we'll expect an answer. And if we refuse," Zixtal demanded. Chen's smile remained diplomatically pleasant. "Then nothing happens. No warfare, no aggression. We simply stop maintaining your systems, stop providing our technological assistance, stop being the silent partners in your civilization's infrastructure. And you discover, piece by piece, just how dependent you've become on the species you thought needed your guidance." As the holograms faded, the council chamber fell silent. Around them, human-maintained systems continued to operate perfectly. For now. And in every corner of coalition space, representatives of 1,000 worlds began to realize that the patient species they had tried to teach had been their teachers all along. The countdown continued, and humanity waited, as they had waited for 15 years, for the galaxy to learn its final lesson about underestimating Earth's children. Checkmate without weapons. The Arxer Trade Federation's central banking system was the first to grasp the full implications of humanity's revelation. Their quantum economists, beings of pure mathematical thought, calculated the impact of human withdrawal from coalition infrastructure. The results crashed their consciousness matrices for a full 3 minutes. In her office aboard Resilience Station, Admiral Chen watched the galaxy's economic networks light up with panic. "How are they responding, Dr. Foster?" James Foster's neural interface pulsed as he processed the incoming data. "Exactly as predicted. The merchant guilds are calling for immediate concessions to human demands. The industrial consortiums are discovering that their automated manufacturing systems all speak a human-designed programming language." "And the military response?" "That's the beautiful part," Maya Patil interjected, her hologram materializing in the office. "They can't coordinate one. Every secure communications channel they might use runs through human-maintained quantum relays. They're discovering that military action is impossible without revealing their strategic plans to us." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. 15 years of being the galaxy's tech support. Who knew it would be such an effective military strategy? The displays showed the spreading realization across coalition space. Every attempt to isolate human influence revealed 3 more layers of dependency. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations were discovering that their technological evolution had been subtly guided by the very species they'd tried to restrict. "Message from the Klaxos Assembly," James reported. "Their central processing matrix just tried to purge all human code from their systems." Result? Sarah asked, though she already knew. Total shutdown. Turns out their entire computational architecture is based on human optimization algorithms. They didn't even know it. Maya's hologram gestured, bringing up new data streams. The Coalition Defense Force just discovered something interesting about their flagship fleet. Those efficiency upgrades we helped them install, they weren't just improvements. The displays showed Coalition warships across galaxy, their commanders discovering that their most advanced weapon systems were elegant sculptures of redundancy. Every attempt to isolate and remove human influence simply revealed how fundamental that influence had become. 24 hours until deadline, James noted. The Coalition Security Council has been in continuous session for the past 8 hours. Sarah stood, walking to the window that overlooked Earth's orbital defense grid. The massive installations, which the Coalition had dismissed as quaint, shimmered with barely contained power. Any word from the swarm? That's another interesting point, Maya replied. After what happened at New Haven, the remnants of the swarm are avoiding human space completely. Their hive minds seems to have categorized our technology as incomprehensible and marked our territories as non-viable consumption zones. A priority alert flashed across their neural interfaces. Director Watson's image appeared, her expression carefully neutral. The Arxer Marshal Kivoth is requesting a private channel. Unofficial capacity. Sarah nodded. Put him through. The reptilian marshal's image formed, his scales still the telling shade of gray. Admiral Chen, I believe we need to discuss the actual scope of human technological integration into Coalition systems. Do we, Marshal? I thought our demonstration was quite clear. The quantum cores, yes. The communication networks, obvious now. But there's more, isn't there? The Coalition's greatest achievements over the past 15 years, they all came after human assistance programs began. Sarah said nothing, letting the silence speak volumes. Our breakthrough in faster-than-light communication, the sudden advancement in neural interface technology, the inexplicable leap in quantum computational efficiency. Kavoth's inner eyelids flickered. How much of it was actually ours? All of it, Sarah replied. We just helped you ask the right questions, pointed you in productive directions, suggested efficient approaches, while advancing your own technology in secret. Not in secret, Marshal. Right in front of you. Every human innovation you dismissed as primitive was a mask for something far more advanced. We showed you exactly what we were capable of. You just chose to see what you expected to see. The Marshal was silent for a long moment. The Council is divided. Many still call for military action, despite knowing it's impossible, despite knowing it's suicide. Kivoth corrected. Your integration into our systems is too complete. A war against humanity would be a war against our own infrastructure. Sarah leaned forward. Then perhaps it's time for a different approach, one that recognizes humanity as equals, not children to be guided, one that acknowledges that different species might have different paths to advancement. And if we agree, if the Council accepts human terms, then nothing changes. Accept everything. Your systems keep running. Our technology keeps advancing. But this time, we do it together, as true partners. As Kivoth's image faded, Sarah turned to her team. Status of the Awakening Protocol. 98% complete, Maya reported. The galaxy is finally seeing what we're capable of, what we've always been capable of. And New Haven. James brought up the colony status. Reconstruction is underway. The transformed swarm matter is proving to be an excellent building material. The colonists are already calling it patient steel. Sarah looked at the countdown timer. 23 hours until the galaxy decided if it would accept humanity as equals or learn just how patient humanity could truly be. The game wasn't over. But humanity had already won, not with weapons or threats, but with 15 years of careful preparation and the galaxy's own assumptions about what a primitive species could achieve. Sometimes the best victories were the ones your opponents never saw coming, even when they were staring right at them. A new order. The Coalition Security Council chamber had never been so quiet. Representatives of 1,000 species watched as the countdown reached 0, their fate resting on the next few moments. First, Councillor Zixtal's crystalline form had dulled with stress, while Marshal Kivoth sat unnaturally still, his reptilian instincts screaming at the predator humanity had revealed itself to be. Admiral Sarah Chen's hologram materialized precisely on time, flanked by Director Watson and Dr. Paddle. No theatrics, no dramatic entrance, just the quiet confidence of those who knew they'd won before the game began. "The time has come, counselors," Sarah stated simply. "What is your decision?" Zixtal's voice resonated through the chamber. "We have reviewed the evidence, discussed the implications, considered our options." A pause. "The Coalition Security Council acknowledges humanity as equals, with all rights and privileges thereof, including unrestricted technological development." Maya asked. "Including that, yes." The first counselor's crystalline surface rippled. "Though it seems redundant now." "Not redundant," Director Watson corrected. "Honest. There's a difference." On displays across Coalition space, the true status of human technology became visible. The quantum networks that had always been there, hidden in plain sight. The computational systems that had guided Coalition development while appearing to follow it. 15 years of patience, revealed in a single moment. "There is one question," Marshal Kivoth spoke up, "one that troubles many of us. Why this way? Why not simply reveal your capabilities from the beginning?" Sarah's hologram smiled. "Would you have believed us? Or would you have seen us as a threat to be contained? We chose to show you who we are, not just what we can do." Across human space, systems began operating at their true capacity. On New Haven, the transformed swarm matter was reshaping itself into structures that defied Coalition physics. The refugee ships, their primitive systems now fully awakened, revealed themselves as technological marvels that made Coalition vessels look ancient. "The awakening protocol is complete," Maya announced. "All human systems are now operating at full capacity." The Council Chamber's displays showed the transformation. Coalition worlds watched in awe as human technology stopped pretending to be less than it was. Not with violence or destruction, but with a quiet shift from hidden excellence to visible perfection. "There will be those who resist this change," Zixtal warned. "Species who will see this as human dominance rather than partnership." "There always are," Sarah agreed. "But they'll learn what you've learned, that humanity never needed to dominate. We've been supporting your civilizations all along. The only difference now is that we're doing it openly." Director Watson stepped forward. "The quantum cores will remain active. The communication networks will continue functioning. The trade routes will stay open. But from now on, we do this as equals. No more restrictions. No more pretense." "And if we had chosen differently?" Kivoth asked. "If the Council had voted against acceptance?" "Then nothing would have changed," Maya replied, "except your understanding of just how dependent you'd become on the species you thought needed guidance." Across the chamber, representatives began to understand the full scope of humanity's strategy. They hadn't built weapons, they'd built connections. They hadn't prepared for war. They'd prepared for revelation. The most powerful weapon in their arsenal had been patience itself. "There is one more thing," Sarah added. "A proposal from humanity to the Coalition." The Council tensed, but Sarah's next words surprised them all. "We want to teach you. Not just about technology, but about perspective. About seeing beyond assumptions. About understanding that progress doesn't always follow a single path." Zixtal's form brightened slightly. "You would share your knowledge." "We always have been," Director Watson said. "Now we'll just be more direct about it." The displays showed New Haven once more, where human technology was not just rebuilding, but transforming. The colony was becoming something new, a symbol of what cooperation between species could achieve when freed from artificial constraints. The galaxy is changing, Sarah concluded, not because humanity forced it to, but because we had the patience to wait until it was ready to change itself. As the council session ended, Maya's systems detected something unprecedented. A wave of messages across coalition space, from ordinary citizens to their representatives. Not messages of fear or anger, but of curiosity, of hope, of wonder at what might be possible now that the masks had fallen away. Humanity had won their place among the stars not through force of arms or shows of power, but through the steady, patient work of proving themselves indispensable. They had turned their perceived weakness into their greatest strength, and in doing so, had changed the galaxy forever. On Resilience Station, Sarah Chen looked out at Earth, its orbital arrays now glowing with their true power. "Project status?" she asked. "All systems nominal," Maya reported. "The galaxy is adjusting to the new reality." "And the next phase?" Director Watson smiled. "Already beginning. It turns out when you spend 15 years helping other species solve their problems, they become quite interested in learning your methods." The stars seemed brighter somehow, now that humanity no longer had to dim their light. The galaxy was entering a new age, not one of human dominance, but of true partnership. They had waited 15 years for this moment, building their influence piece by piece, day by day. In the end, humanity's greatest victory hadn't been in revealing their power. It had been in showing the galaxy that true strength lies not in domination, but in the patient work of building something greater together. The waiting game was over. The age of honest cooperation had begun. And humanity, as always, was ready.